Have you ever felt like everyone's drifting away and that you have to sit with the feeling of being alone? Well, over the past few days, I've been really thinking about this idea, and it really just clicked to me that you are you are literally the only person you have in this life for the most part. And this became really evident to me as I was just going on walks. And I noticed everyone around me seemed to be so caught up in their own lives. And at the end of the day, you're just kind of left with yourself, right? Like, that's just the inevitable. But there's also another example that I want to bring up. And most of you who are growing up into adults now, or just growing up in general, probably have noticed this one factor. And it's how much time you just end up spending on your own. And, like, for example, I'll be in the library. I'll be going to the library or even just sitting for lunch. And then it just hits me that most of my friends are really busy and everyone's picked up these new responsibilities and their schedules don't really line up with mine. And sometimes that puts me in a position where I'm like, okay, today's the day I need to go to the library, finish up some homework, and then just eat my lunch alone because what else can I do? No one else is available. And I just got to kick it by myself, you feel me? I have no other choice. But at first, it felt like, what's the word? I don't know. It felt odd. Odd's the word to describe it. Because it was as if something was missing. But then I realized that being alone isn't necessarily a bad thing. And to be honest, it's kind of freeing in a way. Like, it gives me the space to focus on what I need to get done. And I can even think through my own stuff. So I'm not too concerned about anyone else's plans or their expectations. And I just wanted to know, have any of you ever felt like that? Like, you don't get to see anybody that you know and you have no choice but to be alone? And on the topic of that, to expand on this idea, I've also been thinking about um, emotional resilience. So being able to push through hard times even when no one's there and you just need to be that shoulder that you got to lean on for yourself. So, you know those moments when you might feel frustrated, you might feel upset, and like you have nobody around to talk to with. And that's nobody's fault, right? Things happen, everyone's focused on their own lives, but when you're just stuck with your own thoughts, it just feels super overwhelming. But then with this, I started to notice that processing it on my own, like really sitting there with it, actually allows me to understand what I'm feeling. And I don't have to wait on somebody else to give their opinion on what I should do. And another thing that ties into this really well is the concept of toughing things out and just making your own decisions and being able to trust yourself. So I've noticed personally a lot of times in my life where I have to make a lot of choices, whether it's something like, oh, okay, these are the classes that I'm going to take this semester. Okay, what am I going to do today? Today's Thursday, so this is my checklist. Or just small tasks throughout the day, whatever that may be to you. And um at first, it was low key kind of scary, but because you're not bouncing off ideas from anyone else, and the only person you can point to when you mess up is, take a wild guess, yourself. But over time, I've actually learned to trust myself more than I thought I would, actually. And making decisions on my own has allowed me to overcome a lot of issues, and that I'm able to now rely on my own judgment to make better decisions, and it feels really good to do. It's almost like this quiet confidence that lingers its way into your mind that reminds you that, hey, you're capable of solving what's going on without having to find anyone else to just step in. And on the topic of this video about you are all you have, another part of this whole thing is the challenges and misconceptions of this idea. So, you know, I feel it's a thing that a lot of us struggle with in our day to day lives, and that can actually be very hard to be, which is your own support sometimes. It's really hard to just pat yourself on the back and be like, you know what, it's going to be okay. And the reason for this is due to societal pressure. And yeah, I know most of you can understand. Yeah, it's the one and only societal pressure, of course. We all know. We all know what that's like. Social media, all of this stuff, all this brain fog entering our minds. But when everyone's telling you that you should just be around people, just meeting up, being busy with friends and family, or almost the complete opposite, and you're just left alone for a while, it feels as if there's something wrong with you. And I catch myself thinking, am I doing something wrong? Am I even doing this right? Is this what I was supposed to do? Should I be out with people instead of like sitting in my room making videos, doing literally anything else? And what I realized that it's not just societal pressure, it's also the matter of loneliness. And as many of you should know, we as humans are naturally wired to be connected. It's quite literally in our DNA. And the idea of being alone is so scary when it happens a few times. Just like anything in life, when you're met with something unfamiliar or you haven't done it enough, you're just going to be like, okay, maybe this isn't what I want to do. Maybe this is not the route I should be taking, right? And then I noticed that there's depending on others. And a thing that I do notice a lot before going through with anything is that I'll usually get a second opinion, or that I can't follow through with something without running to a friend or family member afterwards. And things like that are subtle, but they definitely exist, right? But here's the one thing I'm going to tell you: these are literally all misconceptions. There's not one case, there's not one case in the world where just because you spend time on your own, it means you're failing or that there's something wrong with you. In reality, being alone gives you time to reflect, and like it actually gives you strength. And you can see the irony in that, right? And I say this to say the things we're naturally afraid of, in this case, being alone, is often what teaches us resilience and being able to lean back, knowing we can catch ourselves. Have any of you guys felt this way, where something felt scary at first thought or uncomfortable, but then later you realize that being on your own helped you grow and figure out your own circumstances? So, to expand, another section I want to discuss is ways that you can embrace yourself. So, since I just spoke on being independent and the challenges of being your own shoulder, I wanted to get into the more practical stuff that you can apply to your own life to make it better and to make better decisions. So, from personal experience, one thing I like to do, right, is I like to take minutes, a few minutes out of my day to just check in with myself. Like to sit and really ask myself, how am I feeling? Am I getting what I need to get done? And by nature, it sounds very simple, but if you do this daily, it can become a routine. It can really make a huge difference. And at times, I'll do something simple, right? I'll just sit in my room with some music playing, or I'll just write down what I'm feeling and what's on my mind in that current moment. Or I'll just reflect in a journal about my day, and even 5 minutes a day. Even 5 minutes a day can reset your mind and give you more control over your own thought process. And another tip that helps me embrace myself and this idea is literally just by going on walks. Most people, if you have a job or you go to school, you're out by nature. You're forced to, right? You're out to go outside and get to destination A to B. So by just being outside, you're giving yourself this opportunity to notice the little things around you and to let your brain wander for a bit. You give yourself time to breathe and figure life out without the pressures and societal expectations from anyone else. And to add, the last tip that ties back into the first is journaling. Journaling and writing stuff down at the end of the week. Something simple like that. And it's honestly surprising how much clarity it brings, like seeing your own words in front of you and what they mean depending on what you're currently feeling in that moment, which gives you freedom to validate your thoughts and feelings in a way that honestly sometimes a real person can't accomplish. And those are just some of the things I do personally. You can change it up depending on who you are and what you like to do or what helps you manage stress, right? And like I said, they're small habits, but they can really build up and build an impact over time. And that's because the more you begin to practice these things, the more you start to appreciate yourself and your own company. And the only thing you're left to do is just trust yourself and enjoy your own presence. So, to end this video off, the big thing I want to leave you with is at the end of the day, you are really all you have. And don't let that become a sad thing, right? It should be actually the opposite. It should be something you see as empowering by knowing that no matter what, you can always rely on yourself. And it gives you the power to believe that nothing else can take that away. As someone who gets caught up in their own mind, my mind's wandering. I wake up and I'm just like, okay, this is what I'm just thinking about. I live in my head a lot from personal experience. So, and with everyone being busy and not being able to see the people that I care about as often as I'd like, at first I felt frustrated and I felt lonely. But then I just began to adopt this narrative and I said, okay, I'll be okay on my own. I'm just going to reflect. And that little moment reminded me that I'm capable of supporting myself and being my own hero. And something like that has stuck with me to the end of time. So this goes to say, whenever you get the chance and you're not busy with anything, there's nothing in your way, you don't have to deal with too much, just take the time to be by yourself and feel comfortable with that. Like, really check in with yourself and see how you're feeling, and remember that you don't always need someone around you to validate you or guide you with making decisions. As long as you have an idea of where you would like to go and what matters to you, it doesn't matter. It can make a huge difference. Because at the end of the day, trusting yourself is actually one of the strongest things you can do. And to wrap this up, those are my 2 cents on all of this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Either way, I hope that you're able to walk away with something that you can apply to your own life to give you that confidence to be by yourself. Take care.